everybody. I'm Karen Hart-Glass. You're listening to It's All About Food. And I want to bring on my guest, Dr. Joel Kahn. He is a clinical professor of medicine at Wayne State University School of Medicine, known as America's Healthy Heart Doc. He is a contributor to many online sites such as LinkedIn and Thrive Global, and has appeared several times on Dr. Phil and the Doctor's television shows. Dr. Kahn founded the Kahn Center for Cardiac Longevity and owns GreenSpace and Go in Royal Oak, Michigan. He's also the author of The Plant-Based Solution, Dead Execs Don't Get Bonuses, and Vegan Sex. Welcome to It's All About Food.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to talk about food and health and longevity and natural medicine and all the other good topics you do such a good job on.
Yeah, these are my favorite subjects. The last time we spoke was when you and Victoria Moran were crowned the sexiest vegans over 50 in 2016.
Make me blush.
And you're still looking good.
I'm older.
Okay.
Thank
well,
you.
I don't know. I like to say we're not getting older, we're getting better.
Yes.
I'm very excited. I want to say that I'm very excited about your book. I don't know how many other people would be excited about it, but we are about to talk about Lipoprotein A, the heart's quiet killer. And I have to say that people have asked me about Lipoprotein A, and I went around looking for information, and there's very little on it that I could find. So when you came out with this book and I read it, I thought, finally, this is a great blueprint for people to follow. So let's start and talk about what is lipoprotein A and why do we care about it?
Thank you. And you're smarter than the average bear, because it actually is truly a fascinating topic that seems so esoteric, but nobody's allowed to turn off this podcast till the very end, because you're going to learn something that could either help you or save one of your relatives major grief. And that's not very common. This is practical and actually fairly urgent stuff. So very quickly, in the 1960s, the answer to the question, why do people have heart attacks, started to unfold because of big studies funded by our government, like the Framingham study. And this seems like so old hat now, but smoking doubles your risk of heart attacks. Diabetes doubles your risks. High blood pressure doubles your risk. Having a high cholesterol, usually the total cholesterol, then we got better at the LDL cholesterol. And then also having close relatives, mom, dad, brother, sister, that had early heart attack, early bypass. From 1961, that's actually when that was published, to 2020, those are still the questions doctors ask patients or record in their chart. That's not a bad thing. At least they asked those 5 points, but it hasn't really evolved and matured much yet. We've learned so much about heart disease, and we have made an impact, but we haven't made that big an impact in heart disease. It's still the #1 cause of death in men and women. It still kills 2,500 people a day, some of whom clearly did not need to die, 39-year-olds and 42-year-olds and 47-year-olds. And even when we apply the medications, and God forbid we talk to a patient about diet and exercise, there are still some that go on to have heart attacks that are disappointed by that naturally. Well, in 1963, a molecule was found in the blood by some researchers in Scandinavia, and they knew it looked a little like a cholesterol molecule, but it wasn't the same, different. And what we've learned from 1963 to now, quick math would say 57 years, is that there is another cholesterol in the blood, and it's called lipoprotein a. It's a terrible name, because if you actually see it written out like it is on the cover of my new book, it's called lipoprotein a, but the word little isn't there. It's actually the lowercase a, because there's another cholesterol that uses a capital A, uppercase A. So the whole thing's messed up. This would never pass Madison Avenue marketing standards. And it is a sexy topic, actually. But at any rate, this cholesterol was identified, and over the years, real quickly, it's genetic. You inherit it from mom and dad, or you don't, and not much else determines the level in your blood. exercise, Lipitor, good sleep, smoking, the things we would counsel patients, don't really do much to lower the level of this cholesterol if you inherit it. Number two, it's common. 1 out of every 4 people, 25%. In some places, it's almost 30% of people. Just think 10 people around you. We're only allowed to have small crowds now because of the pandemic. 10 people around you, 3 of the 10 may have inherited this cholesterol that they have no clue, they've never heard about unless they listen to a high quality podcast like this one. 3 out of 10, it's the most common inherited cholesterol problem by far. It affects every race and every gender and every ethnicity with a little variation, but not very much. And number 3, we now know that it not only is associated with clogged arteries to the brain, clogged arteries to the heart, clogged arteries to the kidneys, pelvis, erectile dysfunction, heart attack, strokes, at least doubles the risk, triples the risk. It's also, it actually causes that problem. And it also can destroy one of the heart valves. There are 4 heart valves in the heart. And regular cholesterol doesn't do much to heart valves. This nasty little cholesterol, lipoprotein little a, likes to attack and destroy. It's called the aortic valve. So 1 out of every 7 heart valve operations is believed to be due to an inherited lipoprotein little a. 1 out of
7?
1 out of every 7, and heart valve surgery is pretty common in U.S. hospitals. 1 out of every 14 heart attacks, smoking causes heart attacks, diabetes causes heart attack, but 1 out of 14 are due only to this problem. But the patient is told, we don't know why you had a heart attack because this has not yet made it on the routine lab panel. It is a blood test to find out. We've been told for about 5 to 10 years, if you have a family that has a lot of heart attacks, strokes, blood clots, or maybe now valve problems, maybe check your lipoprotein little a blood test. It's literally 5 cc's of blood. It costs $30. All the labs do it. I don't own a lab. LabCorp, Quest, doesn't matter, your local hospital. But most people, even with that heart attack, stroke, bypass, they don't get it measured, and they don't find out that they're carrying something that might impact their children, their brother, their sister, their parents. But we're starting to really focus on this. Nobody heard about cholesterol to any degree back in 1950, and then people started getting tested. And we're right at the beginning of a new era to help people. Last thing I'll say about it, you can take a heart patient, you can get them on a good diet, get them exercising, baby aspirin, cholesterol medicine, blood pressure medicine. They still can go on to have a heart attack or stroke. That's called residual risk. What part of that risk have we not managed? And it's very frustrating and very disappointing when people are doing the recommended things and they still have a serious event. Turns out lipoprotein little a is the biggest explanation why people don't have complete protection, even though they're seeing a internist, a cardiologist, or a lifestyle expert. So I'm out there just screaming at the top of my lungs, teach the medical community, let them know now that there are big medical communities recommending everybody get this drawn once, but it won't be drawn on your routine cholesterol panel. You can have your cholesterol checked 38 times in the last 20 years. If it doesn't say lipoprotein little a and a normal value on what you got, odds are about 99% for sure you've never had it checked.
Okay. I'm a vegan for 32 years, Dr. Kahn, and yay! And I believed that a healthy plant-based diet could reverse or prevent most heart disease cases. And now I'm finding that certainly it's not going to hurt. Everybody should be eating this way, but it's not the only thing that some people absolutely need to do to prevent a heart attack.
Well, congratulations for your many decades of making intelligent food choices. Your audience wouldn't know, I've actually been whole food plant-based for 43 years.
Woo!
Age 18, stopped eating everything. So I've been completely, it was not a health issue, just wanted to do this and freshman year of college and didn't give up on it. Felt so good, still feel so good on it. Age 61, no medications, no medical problems, knock on wood, all the rest. But it's still the best choice, even if you find out, okay, why am I going to get this blood test and find out that I inherited this? What can it help? Well, when you adopt a whole food plant-based diet, you'll lower most likely your inflammation compared to meat and dairy and butter and cheese rich diets. You'll lower your cholesterol. You may not get it all the way down because genetics also play a role in regular cholesterol, the one you hear about all the time. You'll be more likely not to be diabetic, not to have high blood pressure. So it's great what you've done, but let's just play the hypothetical. You take this information and you go next week to your doctor's visit and ask for this special blood test, although it's very easy to get it done. Your doctor may never have drawn it and may give you a little grief about getting it done. You also can send your blood away to certain labs like lifeextension.com or wellnessfx.com. You can actually get it done on your own if you really want to. And it comes back sky high. Admittedly, there wouldn't be much to do for somebody with as focused a lifestyle and health program. But imagine the 98% of America that doesn't follow your diet. And now you've got a little scary hammer to beat on them a little bit. Whoa, you know, we were worried about the potential for heart disease in everybody, but now that we've learned you've inherited lipoprotein little a, don't skip the gym, don't go to the burger bar, you know, don't get that pint of ice cream out at night. You know, let's really focus on lifestyle related health. Although there are other things you can do for lipoprotein little a.
Okay, it's lipoprotein. I was saying lipoprotein, but I'll say lipo. You can say lipo, I can say lipo, or?
Tomato, tomato, potato, potato.
Okay.
Angina, angina. It's all good in my world.
It's all bad.
A normal level's good.
Okay.
I'll tell you a little bit more. It's really, there's some interesting things. There's very, very few species that have lipoprotein little a in their blood. Humans are one of only about 4. I'm blanking for a minute on some of the funny little beasts. They're not even closely related to us that have the capacity to, our liver makes lipoprotein little a. So why? Nobody knows the answer to that question. Why are we the lucky species? There's a theory. It turns out lipoprotein little a can do 3 things that are all bad. It can injure arteries and cause blockage, which could be a heart attack, a stroke, erectile dysfunction. It can cause inflammation in the blood vessels. It's got some really nasty particles in it that look almost like LDL cholesterol, but now worse. And that it also can cause, we believe, blood clotting. There's a theory that, let's say, you know, 1 million years ago, you were hemorrhaging from a really bad menstrual cycle, that temporarily lipoprotein little a can act like a little Band-Aid and seal an injured artery with the molecule itself to stop bleeding. That may be why, if you believe in the theory of Darwin, I'm blanking on the evolution, why we have this in our blood. It may have been some benefit, but the problem is when it attaches, it's sometimes called the sticky cholesterol. When it attaches to a blood vessel and makes this little like tire patch, what's there? Tons of cholesterol and tons of other agents called oxidized phospholipids. So it's like the Band-Aid has curare in it or something not good. It serves a purpose, but it's also allowing into that spot in the artery a flow of cholesterol and other agents. So in the long run, it doesn't do us a lot of good that we can detect. My patients with super high levels, simple blood test of lipoprotein little a, many of them already have had a heart attack, a stroke at young ages, or have silent heart disease that we can identify. Maybe we can talk about that. And there's a lot of anxiety and all, but the best answer is what you already said. Get on board with a great lifestyle and lower your risk. You can't necessarily say 0.
Okay, great.
Lower your risk.
Are there any clues outside of getting this test for lipoprotein A does it correlate with cholesterol? Does it correlate with LDL cholesterol? Can you have low cholesterol but still have high lipoprotein A?
Yes, you could. There aren't, you could have a cholesterol that generally passes muster. You know, most labs will say cholesterol under 200, they'll put normal. LDL under 130, they'll put normal. You could still have quite a high lipoprotein little a compared to the normal range. And it's that abnormal range that's been associated with disease. So it is possible. It's more likely if your cholesterol is 250, 270, that you're also going to find an elevated lipoprotein little a. But literally there is no clue except my father had a heart attack at 38 and went on to bypass. His mother had a stroke at age 47. My sister just had her valve replaced. It's that family history that certainly should spur somebody to take notes and go get this blood test. Very often my patients find out they have elevated lipoprotein little a, and they've got to go tell father and grandmother and sister, you guys need that blood test too, because we probably have this running through the family.
All right. I'm going to turn this around and make this about me for a moment. As I mentioned, I'm a long-term vegan. I'm on a whole food plant diet. I eat very little sugar, salt, and oil. My cholesterol is high. It's around 240, 250.
Right.
And my LDL is around 140 range every year, kind of goes up and down. I had an apolipoprotein B test in 2015. That's all I could get my doctor to get me.
Right.
And I was in range, but on the high side, 122 milligrams per deciliter.
That's a little high.
So what do I do?
Well, number one, you bring up a good point, because I don't think we say this as the medical community teaching plant-based nutrition. You know, there are stunning examples of weight loss, blood pressure control, cholesterol control, reversal of diabetes, even as people probably know in your audience, the potential to reverse existing heart disease. But it doesn't mean everybody gets that or gets that easily. There are people trying really hard and their cholesterol gets stuck in the range you're talking about. And they don't hear anybody talking about it because it seems like this works for everybody. It doesn't. There are diet reasons our cholesterol is high, and there are genetic reasons. You can eat broccoli sprouts and bulgur and have your oatmeal in the morning, and your liver can still hyperproduce cholesterol based on genetic reasons. I was very pleased that in a podcast a couple weeks ago where Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn was answering a Q&A with his son Rip, this question came up. Somebody had a question, just like you just said. And you don't hear Dr. Esselstyn say it very often, but it was, not all our patients reach target cholesterol with diet alone. Genetics matter for cholesterol control. In his studies that he published, these were serious heart patients. Many of them, if not most of them, were on a statin medication plus a very excellent diet program. Because certainly for heart patients, that is sometimes needed. And, should you have your lipoprotein A checked? You should. Should you be anxious? I mean, I've been 43 years vegan. My cholesterol is not 130. It's not, and never has been. And I've got some family history. And number one, there's a couple tricks. There is a diet that was researched by Dr. David Jenkins, MD, University of Toronto. Very well-respected nutrition scientist for 50 years, 60 years, still alive and kicking, and a wonderful man. He calls it the portfolio diet. He studied and published if you add regularly oat bran or oatmeal, if you add regularly some soybean-based foods like edamame or organic tofu or tempeh, if you regularly add a few high soluble fiber foods and including almonds, he put these together and ultimately could show he could drop cholesterol pretty well. So I point out to patients, just go online, the Portfolio Diet, University of Toronto, and maybe we can tweak your diet a little bit. Now, some people don't want to add almonds to their diet. Half the world's, mortally scared of soy-based products, and they shouldn't be.
I eat soy. I eat nuts. I got no problem with that.
Yeah. So, and sometimes that just doesn't, move the needle to the cholesterol you want. There are vegans that don't get enough omega-3, chia seeds, flaxseed, hemp hearts. Maybe take a supplement. There is a blood test called omega-3 index. Pretty simple. A little bit harder to get your doctor to order that one than the lipoprotein little a, because some routine labs won't do the omega-3 index. Ultimately, and before I got on the lipoprotein A teaching bandwagon, I've written a book about 5 years ago called Dead Execs Don't Get Bonuses: How to Survive Your Career with a Healthy Heart. And it's a real plea. This is a very cardiology topic, not so much nutrition topic. That if you pause for a minute and ask the question, why'd my doctor tell me to get a mammogram? Why'd my doctor tell me to get a colonoscopy? I don't have any symptoms, but that's preventive medicine. Why don't we do anything for the heart when the heart kills 10 times as many people than those two potential conditions combined? And the sad part is there has been developed a CT scan, a CAT scan, called a coronary artery calcium CT scan. You're on a stretcher, you go in a machine, you hold your breath for 5 seconds, you go home. It's a whole test. No needle, no injection, no iodine, no exercise. Anybody can lie there for 5 seconds and hold their breath. And a report comes out, and you want to be a 0. A 0 means no calcium was found, no aging was found in your heart arteries. Highly, highly accurate. This came out about 25 years ago. It's very well described in a Netflix documentary called The Widowmaker Movie. I'd urge everybody to become familiar with that amazing documentary. It used to be $1,000. Now in my community, it's $75 to get this quick CAT scan.
Okay.
Or maybe $100, but you do it once in your life, 45, 50. I know you're 33, but around that age, 45 or 50. And so just to circle back to you, I spend half my office reassuring people like you, thank goodness there is radiation to this CAT scan. It's equal or less than a mammogram, and you have it once. But reassuring people, thank goodness for some reason your cholesterol's up, but your arteries are like a 20-year-old. We don't need to be anxious. We don't need to rush to prescription drugs. Maybe, again, a little more oat bran, a little more chia seeds, flax seeds, 1 Brazil nut a week to lower your cholesterol. But you're not aging inside with the most accurate way of screening for silent heart disease. Now, flip it over and the test comes back abnormal. Well, there is actually both vitamins and prescription drugs that can help get the ApoB to 70 or something that we might want to see. It's called personalized medicine, where we're really taking your specific data and analyzing it.
Okay, so what you go into in this book is that there is no one-size-fits-all plan. And I know our current medical system really likes to have one thing for one ailment, but there are different supplements and things that you recommend based on test results. And some people respond to some people respond to others. There's a balance for some, like, let's talk about L-carnitine, for example.
Right. L-carnitine is an amino acid that exists in our food. It has that word carne. It's very rich in red meat, particularly.
Can we get it from plant sources?
There is small amounts and more than adequate. Tofu has L-carnitine because it's got all the amino acids. Quinoa, for example, small amounts, which is all we need. It has been researched as a natural way to lower cholesterol because it comes in a capsule, a natural way to lower lipoprotein little a, and it does do it to a small degree. But more recently, in the last 10 years, we've learned there's a flip side to carnitine we didn't know about till the last decade, where it can, if you are eating some animal-based products, L-carnitine can be converted to something called TMAO, which may be very adverse to your arteries. So I rarely use carnitine in my practice anymore. I have the ability to measure for this TMAO, and if I do use it, I make sure I haven't just bumped somebody's TMAO level up sky high, because I don't think that's a good thing. But yes, you can use that and lower, as I say, cholesterol and lipoprotein little a. It may even help lower blood pressure, but I don't use it a lot. Niacin is a B vitamin, vitamin B3, very inexpensive over the counter. Niacin lowers regular cholesterol, it lowers LDL cholesterol, it also lowers lipoprotein little a. And sometimes it lowers it a lot. I've had a lot of success slowly starting niacin, titrating it up. It can cause a rather annoying hot flash like menopause, and some people find it fun. I'm one of those people, I kind of like it. Some people don't mind it, and some people just don't like it at all. And you have to check liver enzymes. There's a couple, follow-ups you do. But some people get spectacular lab improvements using niacin for lipoprotein little a. It's very inexpensive, as I said. The downside is we've never had a really big study. Here's 1,000 people with lipoprotein little a elevation. Half went on niacin, half went on placebo. We followed them for 5 years, and the amount of heart attacks went down on niacin. I wish that were the case. Study's never been done. So there's reasonable and justifiable skepticism about maybe not, spraying niacin like a garden hose on everybody till maybe one day we get such a study.
Okay, so you have been working with your patients for a long time and using this protocol that you talk about in the book, I imagine. What's the success rate?
Well, number one, it all depends how you measure success, of course. Using lipoprotein little a to explain why there's a family history of heart disease nobody could ever figure out, or why there's been a personal history, people that have had a heart attack. And it's very common to get told by your medical team, all your numbers are great, we can't figure it out. Well, if that's the case, what are you going to do about it? Of course, the answer always is excellent lifestyle featuring a whole food plant diet. But nonetheless, there's many people that actually feel a sense of relief. Oh my God, I can't believe you've checked something that actually explains my personal history. And then there is the family history. They keep telling me that, nobody could find out why we have so many of these heart attacks, strokes, blood clots, whatever the fill in the blank is. And this very simple blood test suddenly provides an explanation for, several generations of problem. Third, success at tightening the screws on their lifestyle, getting them without scaring them to understand that they inherited something that they would be wise to work a little harder on their diet and their fitness and their sleep and their stress management. And then finally, can we correct the number? So just very briefly, statins don't help. Lipitor, Crestor do not lower lipoprotein little a. They will sometimes need to be used to get the ApoB LDL cholesterol down in somebody with actual heart disease, but they don't help with this. Actually, as far as we know, fitness doesn't really lower. Fitness can lower your overall cholesterol. It doesn't lower lipoprotein little a. Of course, you should exercise. There is one report in 2018 that a whole food plant diet in heart patients with elevated lipoprotein A does lower their lipoprotein A. Not a lot, 20%, but let's take what we can get out of all of it. Sometimes coenzyme Q10, sometimes another vitamin called NAC. These are easy, safe vitamins. But ultimately, nice. I get a lot of people's lipoprotein A down dramatically, from just normal, depending on what lab value you use, is less than 30 or less than 75. But I have a lot of people that were 5 times normal and now they're normal. But I have to do it carefully and be patient with them.
So basically what people need to do is buy your book, Lipoprotein A, The Heart's Quiet Killer, and give it to either their primary care physician or their cardiologist and say, first, I want a lipoprotein A test. And then if it's high, we need to go through this program and see what we can do to bring it down.
Exactly.
Exactly.
And I will say, and it's kind of you to feature this is the first book in the world, I think, by anyone focused on lipoprotein little a. Plus, because of this data that a whole food diet can be an advantage in many ways, but specifically for lipoprotein A, there's some just great recipes. I had a plant recipe guru named Beverly Lynn Bennett contribute to the book. So it's science, it's beautiful. and it's actually pretty practical.
Exactly. Now you said, just a couple more questions. You said that this lipoprotein A test, anyone can get it.
You need to be a little bit of a salesperson at your nurse practitioner, PA, doctor's office at your next visit. If anybody Googles my name or walk in with a copy of the book, I can't imagine a doctor saying, no, you can't.
Well, my doctor is very, very friendly, and
yeah, not everybody will have that same experience, because you're putting a doctor on the spot who's never even maybe heard of lipoprotein little a,
yes,
or doesn't know how to check the box and order it. There is a diagnostic code. We're coming along pretty well, so this is covered by insurance.
So have things changed in 5 years? Because when I got it, she could only get me an apolipoprotein B test.
Could have got this done back then. It's been available, but again, we all are refining the questions we're asking.
Okay.
But if somebody just doesn't want to wait or deal with their primary care doctor, doesn't have one, you go to wellnessfx.com. You can order your own labs. You go to lifeextension.com. You can order your own labs. It won't be through insurance, but this single blood test won't be very expensive.
Okay, that sounds good. New York's a strange state, though, when it comes to using labs and drawing blood. There are all kinds of laws about who can draw blood and what labs you can use, but there's got to be ways around it to get the information we need. Okay, anything else we need to know before I let you go?
No, I think this is this is such an important topic for the reason it really matters. I mean, and what I really think we'll get to. So why doesn't everybody do this? It's slowly changing. The biggest drawback and the biggest reason you haven't heard much about it for most listeners is if there were a drug right now that was shown to drop the blood level by 50% and drop the heart attack and stroke risk, it would be a multi-billion-dollar blockbuster drug, and there would be pharmaceutical representatives teaching doctors at lunchtime all about this. There isn't such a drug, and it's gone slow. Even though niacin works, niacin is not approved for lipoprotein little a. There is a drug being tested right now. The first 200 patients did great. It's a complex drug. It's an antibody to lipoprotein little a. You have to inject it once or twice a month. If it should ever make it to the United States market, and people are saying maybe in 2024, it might be a $10,000 a year drug. It's not a simple little chemical in the capsule. But it looks like it's going to be a blockbuster for the person with heart disease, lipoprotein A, and wants to better their outcome. But we need the data. All of a sudden, everybody will hear about it and everybody will be tested. Just in November 2019 in Europe, the Cholesterol Society, the Heart Society finally said, we're willing to say we think everybody should have this tested once in life and find out if they've inherited or not. That's a big breakthrough. They're a very prestigious society, but the American Heart Association so far hasn't caught up. They still say, do it if the family history is rotten, see if this is a fact. But the last little bit is, this is inherited. So from age 1 on, if you got it, you got it, and it's elevated. This is potentially a exciting field to the, I encourage my patients, if they've inherited lipoprotein little a, get their kids tested, not at age 5, but at age 18, 16. We know from every shred of data, the earlier you adopt a healthy lifestyle, the more years you have under the curve, like you have with your plant-based diet. There's nothing wrong with changing your lifestyle at age 65. But if you get on the bandwagon at age 18 with a whole food diet and fitness and good sleep and don't smoke, your lipoprotein A is still there, but it's probably going to be much less important over the long run if you get that lifestyle going. So I think it's a great springboard for the 1 in 4 or 1 in 3 to get them on track early. Again, not scaring people, but just being honest about the data.
Dr. Joel Kahn, thank you so much for this most excellent work. I'm very excited about it. I've already sold you. I've only got one book sold for you, and I hope many more people will pick it up.
Anybody
Lipoprotein
who's
A.
written books knows you don't pay college tuition off of books, with the rare exception of something that goes viral. And it's not very often a book about lipoprotein.
Well, okay, but I want people to have this information.
No, I hope we sell 100 of them because it'll help people. But it matters not to me from a financial point. I just want to make it clear. I just like being on the cutting edge and teaching.
Yes. Okay. Thanks again, Dr. Joel Kahn.
Okay. Thank you.
Take care. Be well.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Okay, everybody, that was Dr. Joel Kahn. And the book is Lipoprotein A, the Heart's Quiet Killer, with recipes by Beverly Lynn Bennett. And I'm going to repeat this. You have to get this book. You have to give it to your primary care physician. You have to give it to your cardiologist if you have one. This book must get out to the world. This is something that people don't know about. And like Dr. Kahn said, it affects too many people. And as I mentioned before, the funny thing to me is that even though a plant-based diet, a whole food plant-based diet will help, as he said, with reducing inflammation, with lipoprotein A, it's not the complete solution. And this is a little book. It's a little book for lipoprotein little a. It's a little book, and a lot of it is recipes, very nice recipes. But just the first 30 pages, it's not a big read. It's quality, not quantity. But what's in those few pages can save lives. So I cannot stress enough how important this book is. I've never seen anything else on it. I've seen it on Amazon.com for like $13.99. It's nothing. It's nothing. Buy a case. I'm serious about this. It's a few pages. If you get the book, for example, you could copy a few pages and give it to your doctor and say, let's do this together. If you have the high value of lipoprotein A. Also, I want to tell you, as Dr. Kahn mentioned, at lifeextension.com, you can buy a test kit. Now, you have to buy the kit and then go to a place where you can have your blood drawn and then have the sample evaluated. But you can get the test kit at lifeextension.com. I checked it. It's like $29.95. These are things that are really important. So if you do have high cholesterol or high LDL and you're wondering if a component of that is this lipoprotein A, again, this is something you want to check out. Have I said it enough? Did you get my message yet? Gary DiMattei, did you get my message?
Karen, what was that again that you were saying? I was trying to listen to it, but there was too much LPA in my ears. Wow, that was a great program, Karen, and I am going to buy the book.
Good.
Myself, even though I own a copy already, and give it to a friend. Maybe for Father's Day. Great gift.
Okay, that's a great idea, Gary.
This is a great Father's Day gift. There's a lot of dads out there that might have some high...
So if you know someone, or if you've got a dad or an uncle or an aunt or somebody in your family who has heart disease, who's had a heart attack, maybe the reason had to do with this lipoprotein little a.
They call it LPA or little a, your LPA levels.
Yes.
Yeah, it was a great program, Karen. This is saving lives today.
Well, it's something that nobody's talking about. I've been on this program now for 11 years and nobody has been talking about this. And there's very little information online about it. I've asked Dr. Furman about it at his member portal, and he's got a testimonial on the back of the book that I would like to read.
Yes.
Where he said, I am so glad Dr. Joel Kahn addressed the LPA issue with heart disease and supplied a rational understanding and an approach that is reasonable and effective. And that's from Joel Furman, the author of The End of Heart Disease, my favorite doctor.
The End of Heart Disease is also a great book, and you're going to post a link to that interview, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And Dean Ornish also says something on the cover of this book, which is entitled Lipoprotein a, the Heart's Quiet Killer, a Diet and Lifestyle Guide by Joel K. Kahn, MD, FACC, with recipes by Beverly Lynn Bennett. We sound like a telethon for this book, and really, we're not. But Dr. Kahn is a leader in integrative cardiology. This must-read book on lipoprotein a has the potential to help over 1 billion persons silently at risk for heart events live better lives free of illness. Dean Ornish, MD, founder and president of Preventative Medicine Research Institute and author of Undo It, which you have also talked to Dean and his wife on this program.
So the message has always been on this program to adopt a whole food plant diet because it helps lower your risk of chronic disease. Well, for me, the real reason was I didn't want to kill animals. So it's a win-win. You're not causing harm to yourself or to other beings.
Exactly.
But this is something different. This is something that even a whole food plant diet cannot correct entirely. And as you heard in this program, Dr. Kahn has a protocol of tests you can have done and of supplements you can try to see if they are going to work. Now, I would encourage you, if you're going to do this, to work with your doctor, of course.
And you will have to educate your doctor because many of them won't know what you're talking about.
Exactly. It was funny in the book, Dr. Kahn was talking about why doctors don't know these things. And he referred to the musical Fiddler on the Roof and the song, Tradition. Tradition. And unfortunately, tradition isn't always a good thing.
Right.
Just because you've been doing something for a long time doesn't mean it's the right thing.
Sadly, we hear that story far too often on this program, where doctors just don't know what's going on. And there's
going on?
And there's a lot of them that refuse to learn anything new. So you might have some problems. I'm sure that there's information in the book on how you can possibly get information from Dr. Kahn.
Well, he has a website.
Yeah.
He's in Michigan, so if you can get there, that might be
But I know
beneficial
that
to work with him directly.
Dr. Furman is in, San Diego now? And
yes, does phone consultations.
he does phone consultations.
Yeah.
I'm sure Dr. Kahn could do the same thing.
He's a nice guy.
But anyway, the book is great. The interview was great. Bravo. Another wonderful program here at Responsible Eating and Living, thanks to Karen Hartglass.
And speaking of Bravo,
yes,
in a couple of weeks, I'm going to be talking to Ramsey Bravo.
Ah, nice segue. And who is Ramsey Bravo? Sounds like a cowboy.
Well,
Ramsey Bravo, who rides on the range.
He's a chef.
Yeah, what does he cook?
We had him.
Is he chef of the chuck wagon?
I thought I had him on the program before, but I didn't. I had Dr. Alan Goldhammer on the program talking about the Bravo cookbook by Ramsey Bravo, who worked at the True North Health Center in California.
Oh, right.
And he was the one preparing the SOS-free meals. Salt,
no sugar,
oil, and sugar.
no oil or salt. SOS. How clever.
SOS-free, yeah.
And this is the Bravo Express cookbook that you'll be talking to him about?
Yeah, in a couple of weeks. I loved his first cookbook.
Yeah, that's a great cookbook.
And I don't know if I mentioned this on the program the last time when I was speaking with Visanto Molina, but this month I am featuring 3 books that are published by the Book Pub Company. And one last week was Visanto's book about kick diabetes. You just heard Lipoprotein a, which is a cookbook. But that's not what I'm stressing about it. I'm stressing about the first 30 pages of meaty material. And then the Bravo cookbook in a couple of weeks because...
Vegan meaty material, because this is a vegan cookbook.
Thank you. They're all vegan cookbooks.
But the first 30 pages are vegan meaty.
I want to promote cookbooks that help you with your health, especially during this time of COVID-19. Everybody knows the virus is still going on, right?
Right.
We haven't forgotten about it.
Right. Masks are not to be worn as chin straps. They're to be worn over your face. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we still got a problem with this thing, and the cases are still going up.
Especially in LA and places like that where people are getting back out and going to the beach and stuff.
Now, maybe if people keep their head in the sand, it might prevent them from getting
Or just
the virus.
cover your face
I don't know.
with that mask. How many people do we see on our walk carrying it like a chin strap?
Too many.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, whole food plant diet, as shown in these books that I'm featuring this month, will help. And each one of them has a different theme.
Yes, this is a great week of really, really important information. A lot of great books coming out.
Now, meanwhile, while I have you here, Gary.
Yes. You want to interview me? Of course, I know. You want to talk all about my life and how, no, I'm
Well,
kidding.
at the very minimum, I want to just thank you because we have been sheltering in place now for over 3 months, and
Yeah.
you have prepared so many wonderful meals. I have been so fortunate.
Oh, well, thank you, Karen.
We used to like to go out to restaurants.
We used to. Keyword
used to.
used to like to go out to restaurants.
And now I don't know that we ever will again.
No, I don't know either. Maybe in a few years. I think that's what everyone's saying now, is that it'll get back to normal in a few years. It's going to be interesting for the next couple of years.
But we have enjoyed so many fabulous meals. I don't know what you folks are doing at home. Maybe some are now getting out. But we really made a point of creating a space, and it's not a big space. It's a little terrace space where we can spend a lot of time while we've been sheltering in place. We're growing things now, tomatoes and peppers and lots of herbs. It's such a joy to see them growing. And we've just had so many amazing meals.
Yes, we have. Every time I cook a meal, I'll tell you, I always think, could I serve this in a restaurant? Because of my background in restaurant management and owning restaurants, I'm always thinking, so while I'm preparing food here at
Responsible Eating and Living Pandemic Headquarters,
I'm also thinking that one day I'd like to possibly serve this food off a food truck. Because I think food trucks are really cool, especially vegan food trucks, obviously.
Yeah.
And it'd be a fun thing to do.
Well, a food truck may actually be more popular in the
Right.
future.
There's a lot of great food coming off of food trucks, vegan food trucks. I'd like to see more of those in our neighborhood. I know there's some in Manhattan, but I haven't seen any in Queens. This might be a thing.
It might be a thing, especially if we're trying to social distance.
Yeah, it might be a thing. And you know, we kid all the time on this program about the Mr. Softy person. And today there was actually another ice cream truck competing with our Mr. Softy who drives in the neighborhood. They had a very eerie, very creepy Twinkle Twinkle Little Star.
Very
And
creepy.
it was like post-apocalyptic. It was like, I would run from that truck. Because, I mean, first of all, I'd run from it because it's not vegan. But secondly, it was very strange. Anyway, I think the food truck idea, which hasn't gone away, I think it's only going to get bigger with respect to COVID-19 and, you know, people trying to get back into restaurants and things. So whenever I cook anything here at home, I'm always thinking, could I put this on a menu somewhere? And that's kind of been my criteria for the food that we've been eating. Because I know we usually like to go to vegan restaurants. There's so many of them, and you've talked to so many of the owners on this program. As recently as a couple of months ago.
With a few restaurants that were closed. And one of them's come back. Organic Grill has come back.
Are they open now?
They are open.
Oh, great.
I think it's for pickup. It's certainly not for in-dining, but they're back.
They're great, and we were on their program.
Yes. So you can go to Instagram and see their posts and see what they're cooking, but
Yeah.
I'm glad they're happening. They've been around for like 20 years.
Right. So we'll have to, next trip into Manhattan. I know you took a trip into Manhattan recently. How was that? Did you talk about it on the show
I
yet?
did not. I went
So
in
tell us, it's been how many months since you've been into Manhattan?
3 months.
3 months.
I mean, we live like 7 miles away, right? But going into Manhattan from Queens is a major event.
Yeah, we only live about a 12-minute train ride. So you took the...
I took the Long Island Railroad, which
instead
was
of the subway.
empty and very clean.
It was empty and clean.
And then I got out and I walked about a half hour to Union Square, and it was very surreal walking through Manhattan. It wasn't quite a ghost town. There were people out. You didn't see any tourists. Many places were boarded up. It was very, very surreal, wondering, is this town going to come back?
Yeah, that's concerning a lot of people these days because not a whole lot of people are buying tickets to fly into New York. We rely heavily on tourist trade here.
Now, I went to a doctor's appointment,
Right.
and everything's fine, everybody, nothing to worry about. But going into the building, they really had their procedures down. There was like a whole team of people in scrubs taking our temperature, making sure nothing was done out of order, and they weren't letting anybody
Well, this is before
up
you
that
actually
should be.
got even on the elevator. They
Yeah, it
took
was
your
in the lobby.
It was in the lobby. Wow. Okay. Well, that's good. And this was Mount Sinai?
This was Mount Sinai.
Downtown, though.
Yes, by Union Square.
So you walked from 34th Street down
To 14th.
To 14th.
Yeah. Wasn't a bad walk.
It was a nice day.
It was a beautiful day. Yeah.
Yeah. So next time we go in to Manhattan, we should go by the Organic Grill
Absolutely.
and take some food to go.
I know, even though we're feeling a little nervous about
Right.
getting food from
We
anywhere but our home.
Yeah, it's been fun to cook.
Well,
Believe
what's
it-
really nice, not just because your food is really good, but you present it in a lovely way so often. When you slice apples, for example,
Right.
you just slice them so that they're little rounds, and they just look lovely on the plate with all these other
Yeah.
different fruits
There's a-
and things when we have breakfast.
There's so many ways to slice an apple. There really is.
What a difference it makes when the food is beautifully presented.
Well, why shouldn't it be? Just because you're eating at home? It shouldn't be?
Well, exactly. That's why I brought this up. So many people are eating at home. It's challenging for many people because they're not comfortable cooking or whatever, but I want to encourage you to take it to the next level.
Well, the thing you have
and
to
make
take...
it beautiful.
The thing you have to take is your time,
Oh,
right?
but I want to do it fast.
Yeah, a lot of people do. But you really shouldn't rush it. Because it's art. It's culinary art. Even if it's food for one, I still believe that you should take your time. And what are we talking about, take your time? Hours? No. Take an extra minute, take an extra 2 or 3 minutes and make sure you have everything, all of your tools are ready to go. Make sure your space is clean.
I like that. Even if you're just preparing food for yourself,
Of course.
why not spoil yourself?
No one's preparing food for themselves anymore because of Instagram and Facebook and...
Oh, you can take photographs
Take
and
photos
share it
of
with
it and share it
everyone.
with your friends. You're sharing it with however many friends you have. If you're not a social media person, take a picture of it anyway. That phone is so easy to take a picture with, right?
I just think the food tastes better when it's beautiful.
I do too.
We like talking about art and making everything art.
Especially food. Food is definitely one of the culinary art. Have fun with it. But I really feel that if you don't like to cook, it must be very difficult for you right now with restaurants being closed and or just offering
Well, there's delivery.
takeout service. And there's delivery. So
Okay, the last thing I wanted to bring up before we go, because we don't have much more time.
I know what it's going to be. I know what you're going to talk about. You're going to talk about the apple cake.
Yeah, how did you know?
I know because you nailed it.
The apple cake project has come to a close. Donna will be sending you the results and I'll be posting them online.
Yeah, it was great, Donna.
We did it.
Karen did it. I did nothing but eat it. It was fabulous. No,
But
I think you
I have
nailed
to
it.
tell you, so the challenge was to take Donna's traditional apple cake recipe that had lots of sugar. It wasn't vegan. And
Lots of sugar.
To veganize it, make it healthier, and use cassava flour. I did several versions with cassava flour, and I have to tell you, I learned to love cassava flour, but for tortillas, not for sweet treats. I find it has a particular flavor that lends itself better to savory food, and it has a gummy texture.
Yeah, very gummy.
So it's great for tortillas, because tortillas need that kind of gumminess.
Perfect for tortillas.
But not so good for an apple cake.
No. Unless you want it to taste like bread pudding.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you can do it that way. But it's not going to taste like cake. This final attempt that
Was really good. I have this gluten-free mix that I've mentioned many times where I ground oats, millet, and garbanzo beans. And that's what I use as my flour mix. And it made a really nice
cakey flour.
Cakey crumble. It had a nice crumble.
It was actually cakey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if cakey is a word. Not sure it is.
Yeah, well, this recipe is kind of like a cookie on the bottom with sliced apples on top.
But this last one was actually...
A cakier cookie.
A cakier texture. Again, if cakey is even a word.
So,
I don't think it is, but we'll have to look that up.
Ending on a sweet note here, the apple cake project has been completed and will be posted shortly.
Yeah, so send us another challenge and we'll...
Yeah, anybody out there with another challenge, this was fun and we need a new assignment.
Yeah, so please send us something to do.
Okay, everybody, thanks for listening. Remember, please get Dr. Kahn's book.
Again,
it's inexpensive and it can save your life.
Lipoprotein, a, the heart's quiet killer, a diet and lifestyle guide by Dr. Joel Kahn, MD, with recipes by Beverly Lynn Bennett, who you've talked to on this show
I have
as well.
a long time ago. I think we talked about maca.
Maca.
Mm-hmm.
Maca is good stuff.
So I'll link that one too.
Yeah, why not?
Why not? Hey, everybody.
Have a delicious week.